Hi there, good morning. I'm Adriana, and this is a brand new project that we're initiating today. And we want to bring you life stories, interesting stories, life changing stories that might interest you. Our guest today is Pax Vaira, who's an artist and a lawyer. And I wanted to share with you his story. So I welcome you, Pax. Thank you for coming. And first of all, I would like you to introduce yourself. Who's Pax Vaira?
Hello, buongiorno, welcome everybody. I am Pax, I'm a sculptor. These are my babies, my creatures. I create statues in colorful stones. I look for them. And I became a sculptor 20 years ago. I learned my sculpting trade in London while I was doing another sort of life. When I started carving, when I took a hammer and a chisel in my hand and I started hitting the stone, something shifted inside me. I felt a strong resonance that told me you need to dedicate more time to this. So it really started as an inner intuition and a desire to listen to the inner intuition. What I was doing until then was to pursue a career in the corporate world. I became an investment fund lawyer for an American law firm in the city of London. And I was pretty good at my job, but I wasn't feeling fully alive. It was a job that was taking all of my time and did not allow me to be creative. But I never had the occasion to carve. What I knew is that growing up, I always loved stones. I like to touch stones. I would go to Mass because as an Italian boy, I had to go to Mass, to church. And I would spend my time touching columns while the priest was preaching and touching altars and whatever I could touch of stone. And I think that's where I developed a really strong connection to this material. And over time, I felt like stone was talking to me. So then I started looking for a hobby. I tried a few, and when I reached the stone and stone carving, I knew that I had to spend more time doing it. And this knowledge slowly took me away from my previous life and into a new life, where I became a sculptor. I still do some consulting to beef up my income and to use my intellectual logic brain a little more. But most of what I do and most of my energy and my joy comes from making statues.
What I wanted to address is more or less how old were you when this need of you of carving stones?
So I was in my late 20s. At the turn of 30 when I started carving, and that gives away my age now, which is not good.
We're contemporary, but don't worry.
Before that, there's things that I've done before that are very artistic and creative. I've always been artistic, but stone allowed me to channel it all in one place. And since I started carving stone, I tried different form of arts and creation, but this is what calls me. I feel like I have a mission to show the beauty of the material, to allow it to express itself, and to allow it to become a tool for messages about our human experience, our emotions, our connections and our journey, but I really try not to force details and human features into it. I want it to become something that doesn't have an aesthetical mandatory value, but something where everybody can connect, and hopefully across time it will survive. It's something inspired to the very early way of sculpting, where we just want to leave a sign, a trace of our passage with all these very ancient statues that across the millennia still talk to us. And we look at them not because of their beauty, but because of some message, some that we can connect to, something that tells us humans were there millennia ago and they wanted to communicate with us and leave us a trace. But I do that in a contemporary way and taking into the future, because I work with materials that are not really meant for carving. And to do that, I can do it because of new tools that allow me to do that. You don't see many statues in these colorful stones because they're not meant to be carved in the human tradition. But thanks to new tools, we can do that, and I can make them survive because they're often materials that are dying out because humans have used them too much. And so I'm lucky to be able to make them shine before they disappear, really. That's my quest.
I do have a question in terms of what I hear and what I understand is that you always been a creative ever since you were a kid. Mm-hmm. And then, because for any reason you stopped and you studied law and you went to work into the corporate world as a lawyer, and you had your journey there and your learnings. But then this need to, like you say, your calling to get back to the stones and carving and also doing other types of art practices. I understand poetry or live performing in the sense that it's not only one artistic practice, but there are various artistic practices that you do, but there's one specifically which is carving stones, which really connects to you. And maybe that's the connection of the small kid that refound himself, or he reconnected himself in his late 20s, finding this artistic practice.
Yes, it's true. I do like to write poetries and I like to do some live performance. And it's also true, though, that carving from stone for me is the main channel of creativity, one that I decided to develop to where my talent shows some kind of professional skills. When I write poems or when I do live performance, it's more for my fun. It's a very personal joke that I have with myself, or something that I enjoy doing. Perhaps one day they will also be discovered as something professional, but artistic expression, the need of feeling truly humans beyond what was taught at school is something I always had. But what I understood when I started doing my career, which I did because of my upbringing, my family, the way I was meant to be educated, also because I was trying to find a space where I could feel safe. I did not pay too much attention to certain important choices because I was distracted with my own personality and finding my own safe space. So I strongly encourage everyone from when they're really young to pursue their dreams, no matter what anybody says. If there's something that you like, just go for it. No, don't get any conditioning. That's the key for being happy, I think. And I always had a consciousness, especially when I started working so much and started flying on a career that I wasn't so sure about, that I only have this life that I'm aware of. My awareness now is of my life now, and I want to be able to feel alive through it. And I think artistic expression has been a reply to this call, and recognizing that in doing something with my hands or with my emotions, with expressions that go outside the schemes that I was thought of, made me feel and makes me feel truly present and truly connected to life. That is what I decided to pursue, and that's what has taken me here. It's changed my life entirely. I have conditioned all my choices after I decided this was it.
I believe that art is freedom, and this is kind of the message I hear with people like you or people like me that have found or have reconnected with our artistic practice later on in life. I also come from the corporate world. I was 20 years in the corporate world. Our stories, this is why I invited Pax to this interview, because our stories are very, very similar. He started much younger than me though, which I celebrate. But the thing is, when you get back to an artistic practice, let's say, some sense of freedom of your thoughts, of your maybe worries, something changes. And that's why I think we feel very good doing our artistic practice. Now, it's not necessary maybe that everyone become an artist and leave all their life behind. It can be done simultaneously. For example, in my case, I also do different artistic practices, but it was maybe until the 6th or 7th that I started playing the piano, for example, in my early 50s. And that one was the artistic practice that made me connect properly with that, I call it source, maybe, or the light, or whatever you want to call it. And I never thought that I would do that. I never thought that the piano would make me feel like that. And I still practice the other ones because I like them, because they make me concentrate for my job, or they make me create new ideas, or whatever the practice I do gives me a benefit. But important is that you not necessarily have to become an artist if you don't want to. If you want to become an artist, then do it. As Pax says, we have no idea, where we're going afterwards. And this is just a beautiful life to have fun, to express ourselves. And it's important for us to acknowledge that there are huge possibilities to improve the quality of our lives. And this is just one way of doing it. There are thousands of ways. This is one. And this is why I wanted to bring this story alive with you. Did you value in any moment the risk of jumping from your safety network at your job into the artistic space? And if you valued any risks, if there was whatsoever, how was this process for you?
I tried, for sure I tried, but I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know what life of an artist would be like. So you cannot fully calculate your risk. What you can do is to try and make sure you will have enough means to survive for a few years. When you decide to change life, you only discover what's like once you do it. It's like when you buy a new home, you only discover your neighbors after you buy your home, not before you buy your home.
Yes.
There's always something that you don't know, even if you try and calculate it. In the end, it was a need. It was something that I did to find more happiness. And I remember one of the partners of one of the last law firms where I worked, who told me, like, why this is something that is gonna give you a very unstable life. Why do you do it? You're good at what you're doing. And I just felt strongly inside me that I want to be remembered as somebody who spent his life trying to put emotions into shapes, and not like somebody who was good at drafting documents. That's what I felt. And I wanted to be true to myself. But it's important, I believed, in our life, that we try to be true to what we're doing and enjoy it as much as possible. And it's not just fun, life it never is, but certainly when I carve, I feel like I am connected to a divine source in a way that people find in some other ways, but it makes me truly feel like I'm a tool of something divine, and it's not just me. There is something else bigger than me that expresses itself through me, and that is a feeling that I enjoy enormously, and I'm grateful for every time that I do. And because I carve directly, I do, which means I take a block and then I start working. I never really know what I'm doing until I reach a point where a shape is certain, and there's always a first phase of just trusting the process. In my case, it's a jump into the unknown each time that gets a recognition each time that I am doing the right thing, and it's a feeling, and it's a feeling that makes me feel good about myself.
This is one of the concepts that I find most difficult to transmit to people. Sometimes people ask me, but how do you find your calling? Or how I have no idea what I'm passionate about. Or you guys are very fortunate because you guys know what you want to do, but there's a lot of people that not necessarily have arrived to this point yet. And yet is important because trusting the process is part of it. And if you keep yourself busy all the time with no time for yourself, no time to observe, to contemplation, to experiment, if there is no space for that, it's difficult to find what your passion is. The moment that you give yourself the opportunity to slow down a little bit and to start experimenting with different things, then the ideas start, or the feelings start to emerge. But there's a lot of people that don't believe this because they have not tried it yet. So this is also an invitation. The purpose of this is also listening from people that have already taken that journey, and how much happiness has brought this to their lives, despite the challenges of the economic stability, for example, which scares a lot. For me, jumping from my corporate world job that gave me all the security I could have, and after 20 years, it was scary to jump into the entrepreneurship world and do what I do now. And as Pax said, I also did a lot of, I took the risk, the calculated risk. Yes, you work, you have some savings, and you prepare yourself to maybe a couple of years without income, because let's say it's not automatic, obviously, but you can calculate that and you can do the journey from point A to point B in a safe way. But most of all, you need to trust the process. And that is the invitation today for all those people that are wondering if they should do it or not, or if they should start looking for it or not. And this also could be not only the artistic practice. Maybe you want to do voluntary work, or maybe you want to become anything in sports, or maybe you want. But the thing is that you find your coherence on what you want, what you think, what you program, what you say, what you do. And this will eventually translate into inner peace, which I believe everyone is looking for. And that also becomes basically your happiness. One of the partners in the firm challenged you a little bit. What about family and friends? Did you find some resistance with family and friends about doing this, or you just went like, you know what, I'm just going to do it and period?
Exactly like that. I found some resistance from pretty much everybody because I had a very safe and sound and good career, and so it seemed crazy to anybody that I would want to give that away, and so at some point I just had to do it regardless of what people said. I think I have a word of advice, which is to try and spend at least half an hour a day doing something for yourself, no matter what it is. I realized that I wasn't doing anything just for me, and so I decided and I started a practice of spending half an hour a day doing something only for my pleasure, for my expression, for my needs, and that can take any sort of form and shape. But that has allowed some space for my needs to be heard, and then to find a rightful expression. That is something you find only by trying. If you don't have a strong calling since you're a child, or if you haven't been able to recognize it, you just try different things until you find something that resonates. And if you don't, I think it's still quite a luxury to allow yourself to explore different things that can be done in life. And so that's my word of advice.
Any regrets whatsoever in any part of your journey?
Not about following my carving passion, no. I have other regrets, but not this one for sure. It's it made me found an identity that I feel comfortable in.
Pax, where are you going from here?
I will continue carving. I will continue making exhibitions. Where I will go, life will disclose to me. When you decide to have a freer form of living, you cannot plan everything. You have to trust that you will find the answers on the way. And because I'm free to choose, I don't exactly know where it will go, but I know that I will continue, and that there will be more exhibitions, and there will be more art talks, and more expressions of myself.
This is another question that I would like to ask you in terms of the big picture of people doing this or not. What does the world need right now?
From what I can tell, from my practice, what I hear, the world needs humans who behave like humans, who remember to behave like humans, connect to their DNA and many skills that we have built inside ourselves, what somebody may call the human technology, the human intelligence, especially now, so that we can develop with technology using it as a tool and not as something that will guide our choices. Whatever makes you feel like you're fully humans, which comes with joy and sorrow. But that's the whole journey, that's the whole experience, is to be able to explore all the emotions, to live through all of it, to feel full thanks to that.
Do you want to address anything else and a last message before we go?
Be yourself as much as you can. Find it, fight for it, enjoy it as much as possible.
That's all My Way Experiences mantra. So, couldn't agree more about that. I thank you, Pax, for your time.
And I thank you.
Your openness, your sincerity. I think that's a voice that we all want to listen to. I'll be seeing you next time with more stories of people that you can consider to make your decisions and maybe start thinking about the next steps of your next chapter in life. 2025 is about change. It's about new cycles. It's about new beginnings. So I hope to hear more from you when you're ready to make a change or to make this huge jump into your life. I'm Adriana, My Way Experiences. Thank you very much. Till the next time. Ciao.